it's quite interesting, when you kind of look back at that time period because there were so many different moving parts, and you know, it could have gone so many different ways, but obviously it ended up being this incredible runaway success. And obviously Sting, who probably was somewhat disappointed at the time, ended up benefiting massively from being the one big opposition
Right?
to WO. I mean, it's
Ar
hard to imagine.
Arguably, Sting's character and its trajectory reached a higher level than it
Mhm.
probably would have if he would have been the third man.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love to get your perspective on, and I know I'll put a fresh spin on this, hopefully, because you've been asked this so many times, but when you get to the payoff of Starrcade 97 after a year and a half of incredible episodic slow burn storyline, and you finally get to the big payoff match of Hogan Sting. Um, and obviously the trains come off the track in a few different directions. And I've obviously heard talk about Sting not being really ready for a match mentally or physically. And then there was the the regular count that was supposed to be a fast count and many elements. Where do you kind of land on that match of Starcade 97 in terms of did it do what it needed to do? Or
You know what's so funny about that, man? And I'm glad you asked that question because even over the course of the last year or two, like, I don't think he'd mind if I reveal this, but I had a conversation with Cody Rhodes maybe a year or so ago. And Cody was there. Dusty was still a part of the team. Cody, as a young boy, was there at ringside. The whole fast count, all of the things that we've all learned subsequent to that night that are part of wrestling folklore at this point. But that night, from the eyes of a young kid by the name of Cody Rhodes, who's going on to become what Cody Rhodes has become, he said, Eric, I was ecstatic. I love the finish. Now we've learned subsequent to that night that the wheels fell off and there's a lot of confusion and the fast count and all that drama, but none of that was obvious to the audience in the moment, at least not to the people at ringside.
mm,
I don't know how people at home felt, but Cody never understood the controversy. He loved the finish.
yeah, that's
He didn't
interesting.
see that. He didn't see the confusion and mistakes, frankly, and the lack of communication that resulted in all the controversy. As a fan sitting at ringside, he was reacting to what he saw, and what he saw absolutely satisfied him. He could never understand the controversy until much later. So, look, the original plan was for Sting to go over clean. No shenanigans, no fast counts, no reversing up decisions, no bullshit, no run ins. It was originally designed to be a great match with a definitive, non controversial finish. But because of things that happened throughout the day, we had to change those plans. Had we gone with the original plan, I think it would have gone down as to one of the greatest storylines ever told. But because the end of the movie was a little up, we kind of lost that opportunity. But look, I'll never get away from this finish or my responsibility in it, and I don't want to try to. It's just one of those things that happen, and we made the best. We made the best decision we could at the time, given the circumstances.
But how did you feel on the night? When it's all said and done, Sting's there, surrounded by his WCW brethren, and you have paid one way or another. You've managed to pay off this story arc that you conceived 18, almost 18 months previously. Is there a feeling of, oh, we did it, or we got through that, or are you just on to the next thing? Sting's champion now. What do we do next?
It was a combination of emotions. Obviously, I was disappointed that we couldn't go with the original plan.
Mm,
I recognized immediately that what we were about to do was a less than scenario than ideal. What we started out with was ideal. It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. From a storytelling perspective, it was flawless. From the perspective of the emotion that we created, the engagement that we created, it was as close to flawless as flawless could be.
mm,
But I knew, because of the compromise that we had to make, that what we were going to do was less than. However, because the end shot was Sting standing in the ring and a WCW fan or WCW wrestlers and everybody coming out to congratulate him, we got that high spot moment that Cody Rhodes felt at ringside. We satisfied the audience. We paid it off. And the audience didn't see the flaws that night. The audience didn't recognize the flaws until the controversy that percolated afterwards.
Yeah.
And I knew it was a compromise. I'm never said I don't like compromises. I always want to go with an ideal solution, but sometimes you can't, and you have to do the next best thing. So I was as happy as I could be knowing we did the next best thing.